Happy Oscar Sunday, everybody. It is Sunday. We are a few hours away from the Oscars airing live as I record this. It is Movie Nerd Super Bowl. So with that, let's continue on our journey reading every single Academy Award winner for Best Picture. This episode, part 4, the 1960s. We're going to start things off with The Apartment, 1960s winner, directed by Billy Wilder, starring Jack Lemmon, Shirley MacLaine, Fred MacMurray. This is a movie. This is technically a comedy, but there's a lot of dramatic elements to it. It's about Jack Lemmon as kind of a corporate climber. He wants to do better in his job, wants to go up the corporate ladder. And one of the ways he does that is allowing his single bachelor apartment to be used by some of his higher-ups to have affairs with their mistresses. And he hopes that they'll remember him come promotion time. He falls in love with an elevator operator in his building, and things get a little more complicated when the elevator operator is romantically involved with the CEO of his company. This is an absolutely fantastic film, super funny, but also very dramatic and poignant. One of the best movies pretty much ever made, one of the best comedies ever made. Definitely like a top 100 film of all time. Jack Lemmon's best role, one of Billy Wilder's probably top 5 films of all time. This is a 5-star movie. Definitely watch this one. 1961's winner is West Side Story. I don't know if I need to really go over the plot with you on this one. It's the musical. If you've seen it on Broadway, or if you saw the Steven Spielberg version from a few years ago, it's Romeo and Juliet with New York City street gangs. It's a classic for a reason. All the songs are bangers. The cinematography is beautiful. The choreography of the dance numbers are amazing. The only song I don't like is the song Cool. I hate that song. Other than that, this is a fantastic musical, fantastic for the era. If you like theater, you're going to love West Side Story if you haven't seen it already. This one gets 4.5 stars. 1962's winner is Lawrence of Arabia. This is directed by David Lean, starring an all-star, all-male cast of Peter O'Toole, Claude Rains, Jack Hawkins, Anthony Quinn, Jose Ferrer, Alec Guinness. A little bit of brown face in there, which is a little unfortunate, but it was 1962. What are you going to do? This is about the life of T.E. Lawrence during World War I and his adventures in Arabia. Don't let the almost 4-hour runtime drive you away. This is a masterpiece in filmmaking. The direction and cinematography alone are breathtaking. Peter O'Toole, in his first film role, or if it's not his first film role, it's one of his early film roles. The trick, Mr. Potter, is not minding that it hurts. But seriously, there are some absolutely majestic shots in this. It's also where the famous match cut sequence is from. If you've never seen it, it's where, I'm sure you've seen it, actually. It's where Peter O'Toole, T.E. Lawrence, has a match. He blows on it and it immediately cuts to the desert. That's from this movie. There are a lot of so-called classics that some people think are overrated. This is not one of them. Now, I have the 4K disc of this and a Blu-ray as well, and I'm always a proponent for physical media. And if this is the only way you can see it, obviously get the high-def versions of it because they are beautiful transfers. That being said, I saw this a few years ago on 70 millimeter. It's breathtaking. If you're a movie nerd, if you're like a cinematography nerd like I am, you got to see this on the big screen. Lawrence of Arabia, absolutely a 5-star movie. The 1963 winner is Tom Jones, directed by Tony Richardson, I forgot, starring Albert Finney. This is based on the novel by Henry Fielding. You know, it's been a long time since I've seen this, and when I saw it, I didn't love it. It's mostly a comedy, and maybe it just didn't work for me that well, but it is highly praised. You know, if you go on Letterboxd or IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes, it does have high scores. And again, it's been probably well over 15 years since I've seen this, so I've never really been, enticed to go back and watch it. So there is a scene in this film where Tom Jones is eating dinner at a pub with like this woman across from him, and it really kind of plays out like sexual foreplay. It's very cleverly done. If you have food like noise issues, you probably don't want to watch it because it's kind of gross, but it really is well done and comical. There is a lot of breaking of the fourth wall. Whenever I watched it, I didn't love it, so it's kind of hard for me to say because it's been a long time since I've seen it. At the time, I probably would have given this probably like 3 stars. I'm going to stick with that, but I might revisit it in the future. Drop a comment if I should revisit this one in the future. The 1964 winner is My Fair Lady. This one is directed by the great George Cukor, and it stars Audrey Hepburn as Eliza Doolittle and, of course, Rex Harrison. I'm sure you know the basics of the story, or you've seen the musical, and it's basically that. Audrey Hepburn is, lovely in it. She does not do her own singing. A little bit of trivia for you. Julie Andrews starred in this on Broadway and was famous for the role, but was passed over for the film version, obviously by Audrey Hepburn. But Julie Andrews ended up getting the last laugh because the same year My Fair Lady came out, Mary Poppins came out. And Julie Andrews ended up winning the Best Actress Oscar for Mary Poppins the same year. That said, My Fair Lady is enjoyable. It's a little long for my taste, but it's very enjoyable. I give it 3.5 stars. Speaking of Julie Andrews, 1965's winner is The Sound of Music, the Rodgers and Hammerstein classic musical on screen, directed by Robert Wise, of course starring Julie Andrews and Christopher Plummer, and Eleanor Parker as well. I really love this movie. Sound of Music is a beautiful film. I guarantee you know every single song in here, if not every single one, at least 75% of them. It stars Julie Andrews, who is a nun that goes off to be a governess or a nanny to a group of, I think, 8 kids or something like that, to a widowed army captain in Austria. This is supposedly based on a true story. I know that there are some historical inaccuracies, but that doesn't matter. The songs are wonderful, beautifully acted. Christopher Plummer is great, even though he notoriously didn't like this movie. I think he did warm up to it before he passed away. It's a great love story, and it's an anti-fascist film. One of my favorite images is Christopher Plummer coming home, seeing Nazi flags hanging from his home, him ripping them down and ripping them all up. If you don't like The Sound of Music, I think there might be something wrong with your heart. This is a 5-star movie. 1967's winner is In the Heat of the Night, directed by Norman Jewison, starring Rod Steiger and Sidney Poitier, with music by Quincy Jones. This is basically a murder investigation procedural, but it exceeds far more than that. Poitier plays Virgil Tibbs, a detective from Philadelphia down in the Deep South, and he teams up with a very racist cop, played by Rod Steiger. It's an odd couple pairing. They have to get along with each other to solve this case. Rod Steiger won an Academy Award for Best Actor, and well-deserved. It is one of those movies where the old white racist guy learns to not be as racist by the end, but trust me, it is an earned redemption. Rod Steiger plays it beautifully. The murder investigation honestly isn't even the most interesting part of this. It's really about the dynamic between Steiger and Poitier. There's a very famous scene where Poitier and Steiger are interviewing a suspect who is this very old, rich, white man. And when Poitier kind of steps over the line questioning him, this old rich white man slaps him, and Poitier immediately slaps him back. And apparently back in the day, that was met with many cheers by black audiences, and rightly so. Yeah, this is an all-time classic, 5 stars. So I accidentally put these in the wrong order, and I did 1967 before I did 1966. I could go back and edit it, but I don't care. So the 1966 winner is A Man for All Seasons. This is kind of like a courtroom drama, kind of. This is about Sir Thomas More and how he refuses to acknowledge King Henry VIII as a supreme head of the Church of England. Look, this is very well acted. It stars Paul Scofield, Wendy Hiller, Robert Shaw, Orson Welles, directed by Fred Zinnemann. Dialogue is great. The acting is superb. I might need a rewatch on this one, but for now, I'm just giving this one 3.5 stars. The 1968 winner is Oliver. This is a musical based on Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist. If you've ever seen the meme or the clip that's been parodied a bunch of times of a little boy going, "Please, sir, I want some more," and the guy going, "More?" It's from this movie. So right around 1968, we are at the beginning of what was called the New Hollywood movement, where films were a little bit more experimental, a little more edgy than classic Hollywood films were. A lot of the movies that came out around that time were movies like Bonnie and Clyde, and the previous winners In the Heat of the Night. But this is a much more traditional classical Hollywood film. It's directed by the great Carol Reed, and again, it's a classic Charles Dickens story with music. It just doesn't have the charm for me that something like My Fair Lady or The Sound of Music did, or West Side Story did earlier in the decade. So it falls a little flat with, especially when there were much more interesting movies at the time, like 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's got great production value though, so I'm going to give this one 2.5 stars. And finally, we're rounding out the 1960s with 1969's Midnight Cowboy, directed by John Schlesinger. Starring Jon Voight and Dustin Hoffman. Jon Voight is kind of like this hillbilly hick that goes to New York City to become a hustler or a male sex worker, basically. He has no plan, he has no future, really, and he pretty much strikes out right away. Dustin Hoffman is kind of like this homeless grifter that kind of takes him in, and the two form a bond and a friendship. This is the kind of movie that kind of exemplifies New Hollywood that I was just talking about a little bit ago. This is famously, or infamously, the only Academy Award-winning Best Picture movie that was rated X. Now, X at the time is more like a rated R in 2026, but it dealt with prostitution and homosexuality, drug use, things like that, which is probably why it got the X rating. This is a tragic movie, it's very sad, but it's extremely well acted. Probably Jon Voight's finest performance. I'm going to give Midnight Cowboy 5 stars. All right, thanks for watching part 4 of the 1960s. Drop a comment below if any of these movies were your favorite Oscar winners, or if there were other movies that should have gotten nominated or won over some of these movies. The next video will be part 5, the 1970s, which might be the strongest decade in terms of quality. But until then, do all the engagement down below. Have fun watching the Oscars. Thanks for watching, and remember, buy physical media.